I'm Ben Hutchinson from Google Research. In the front row here is Celeste Louro from the University of Western Australia. At the back is Ned Cooper, who was at Australian National University and is now just starting a postdoc at Cornell. But to start with, we're going to hear from our collaborator, Glenys, who's a First Nations scholar from the Noongar Nation.
My name is Glenys. I'm a Noongar woman from the southwest of Western Australia. I work at UWA with Celeste Louro and from the Google project, Ben Hutchinson, who will be there with you today. So I was born an Aboriginal English speaker. My whole family spoke Aboriginal English. Aboriginal English is a marker of who we are. It's what we talk amongst family and friends. And then we'll get the best person to speak to the monarch, the police, welfare, whatever. We'll always ask for someone else to come in with us, mostly, because we get real shame. But I learnt about Aboriginal English, and I know that it is a dialect of English, and there's over 80% of our students in Western Australia who come to school speaking Aboriginal English and leave school speaking only Aboriginal English because they don't know the difference. Teachers don't know the difference. We know we're different, and it's okay because we are Aboriginal people, Noongar people. But I have worked around the southwest, right across, not just the southwest, I've worked across WA for nearly 40 years doing this job. So, yeah, Aboriginal people will revert to Aboriginal English amongst each other. They might have a few different words, but the tone, context and intonation are all the same. Oh, is that Peach there? Come here, Peach. Come here, Arnie. Hey, what you been doing, huh?
No, not much. Just
Right there, show me Nanny. Give me little Nanny here. Arnie, you had a feed, Arnie?
Yeah.
You had a feed?
Yeah.
You had your dinner? You had your mini? Hey. Oh, you don't want to wake up. Lovely and warm now, sleep. Oh, you had that dinner, eh? Yeah, little York, eh? Lovely. Christmas.
Australian Aboriginal English is a variety of English spoken by First Nations people in Australia. And Glenys was just speaking to you about how important Aboriginal English is to her community. And then she showed you some Aboriginal English by showing you how she speaks with her family. One of the things Glenys said is Aboriginal English is a marker of who we are. It's how we talk amongst family and friends. Most ancestral First Nations languages in Australia are now either extinct or endangered due to forces of colonisation. And as a result, Australian Aboriginal English is a marker of socio-cultural identity for many people. It has distinct words such as Maya Maya and Dadi, which are borrowed from the Noongar language, as well as words such as gammon, which are borrowed and adopted from varieties of English. It also has distinct pronunciation, syntax, semantics, pragmatics, and discourse markers. First Nations research associates at the University of Western Australia have been interviewing Aboriginal people about their experiences using speech technologies. One woman told us that the way we speak and the way that the phone picks it up is different. So one premise of our project is that technology should support whichever linguistic varieties that First Nations people prefer to use with technology, and this includes Australian Aboriginal English. Another premise of our project is that when designing technologies with or for minoritized communities, we should be as precise as possible about the potential benefits of technologies, and also about who will benefit. Technology projects sometimes wave their hands and assume that the benefits are either obvious or universal. So one thing we heard from some interviewees is that they frequently have to access government services over the phone. However, the automated call centers used by government services can fail to recognize Aboriginal English. Another premise of our project is the importance of mapping out the potential risks of technology as early as possible. In the case of speech technologies, We recognized Aboriginal English plays a critical role in establishing Indigenous identities. Indigenous people in Australia use words such as Noongar, Gadigal, Koori, Murray, and Blackfella to refer to themselves. And First Nations people have the right to decide for themselves how these words should be converted into text, rather than relying on dictionaries developed by the colonizers. When recording speech data, it's important to create a safe recording environment, and also to avoid eliciting stories that might contain secret traditional knowledge or stories of trauma. In the paper, we discuss further risks, both around deploying speech technologies, but also around projects that are developing speech technologies. So I realized that to address these topics, I needed someone with expertise, both in linguistics and also expertise in working with First Nations communities. That led me to Celeste, and I'll hand over now.
Thank you, Ben. So Glenys and I partnered with Ben to work on this project, which seeks to make automatic speech recognition inclusive for First Nations people in Australia. When Ben reached out, Glenys and I had been working together for over a decade. Glenys loved the project. She saw it as a unique opportunity to bring Aboriginal English and Aboriginal English speakers into the tech space. Glenys has worked for over 40 years to get people to recognize Aboriginal English as a legitimate system of communication. So this collaboration was an ideal opportunity to amplify her message. But we didn't just consult Glenys, we also worked with others to eventually form an Indigenous advisory committee, advising on all aspects of the project from data collection to data archiving. While Google was to provide funding, Google will not keep the data. It will use it to train the ASR models, but data custodianship remains with the University of Western Australia under Glenys's supervision. We then needed to decide how to collect the data. Aboriginal English is sometimes known as a home variety. So we knew that the home setting would be crucial to be able to collect naturally sounding materials. In consultation with the Indigenous advisors, we also decided to stay away from naturally occurring storytelling, which in a previous project, Glenys and I had found would give rise to the sharing of sacred knowledge and the retelling of stories of dispossession, which we didn't want Google to use to train its models on. Instead, we chose to use questionnaires and elicitation prompts. These decisions allowed us to avoid sensitive content. We assembled a team of Indigenous RAs to collect Aboriginal English speech samples. We used culturally safe prompts like the ones you can see on screen. These were designed by Indigenous-owned and operated Gulil Consulting. The choice of Indigenous RAs was intentional. In addition to collecting data, we're also creating meaningful employment opportunities and a culture of inclusivity and growth. Transcription of Aboriginal English, a mostly uncodified variety, remains quite challenging as we design voice-operated technology. For example, spelling sometimes reflects identity. It may be the way the word black is spelled, B-L-A-K, to encode a particular cultural identity, or it may be the way the word Noongar is spelled to refer to the Indigenous people of southwest Western Australia, and you'll find different spellings depending on the community you're working with. Rather than attempt to find a standard way to represent these, what we need are flexible solutions that come from the communities who use the language. Ultimately, the motto for this project is change the tech, not the speaker. And that's what we're here for. Thanks for listening, and please reach out to chat to us. We look forward to your questions.
Thank you.